then function axes. Function axes, okay. You guys know anything about the functions? We got thinking functions, we got feeling functions, we got sensing functions, we got intuitive functions. As you know, the thinking and feeling functions are all judging functions. The perceiving functions are the sensor intuitive functions. So basically, if you guys don't know, basically all of this works in the axes. It's all connected, sort of. So basically all the judging functions are on the axes. So what that means is, if you're an introverted feeler, you are an extroverted thinker, and vice versa. If you're an extroverted feeler, you're an introverted thinker. Okay, so those are the functions that are on the same axes: extroverted thinking, introverted feeling, extroverted feeling, introverted thinking. So what that also means is, the more of one function that you're using, the less of the other function that you're using. So it's on the axes. It's like a seesaw effect. So you got FE right here, TI right here. I'm a TI down. I'm using myself as an example. I'm a TI down. So when I'm using my TI, my introverted thinking, most of the time when I'm using my introverted thinking, well, I use my introverted thinking a lot more than my extroverted feeling. So my extroverted feeling is always being repressed. A lot of times it's being repressed because it's all on the same axis. So through understanding that, you can kind of understand the nature of each function a little better. I mean, the mental capacity of you as an individual is not able to use them both at the same time. Just like how people say, you ever heard like, so we technically don't multitask. Now people say, I'm good at, well, technically we don't multitask. We're just switching between two different things. You know, when we are multitasking, that's kind of what it's like when you're using the function axes. You're never using both of them at the same time. You're only gonna be able to use one at a time. And when you're using one, you're using less of the other one. And that goes for the perceiving functions as well. Like I got NI, I got SE. SE is, I can't use NI while I'm using SE. Because like say if I was in an SE environment, I'm using my NI too much, along with my introverted thinking, I'll be overthinking. Like if I'm in sports, if I'm using too much NI and TI, I'll start overthinking. Now if I use SE with my TI, then I'm doing good, you know what I'm saying? So that's how that works. So the function axes, okay, it kind of alternates when it comes to, you look at a function stack, it alternates. So my TI, then it's SE, NI, FE. The top two functions, TI and SE, basically, those are not on the same axes, right? Because it's a perceiving and it's a judging function. So I actually can use both functions well together. You know what I'm saying? I use them together to help me do certain tasks. Yeah. So basically, that's how that works. However, I'm not usually I'm not going to use SE and NI together necessarily. Like I'm not going to use it collaboratively in the same way. Like I can use both when I'm doing something. Like NI kind of pitches in a little bit, but it's not like a thing like where I'm using TI and switching between TI and SE the whole time. It's more of a thing like I switch between TI and SE, and then I might go to NI a little bit, and then I come back and do TI and SE. So that's a little different. I'm not going to use SE and SE and NI at the same time, like back and forth like that, because they're on the same axes. The more SE I'm using, the less NI I'm using. So yeah, that's pretty much what that's like. So every type has an axis. To way to break it down and simplify it, you could look at it as an axis. You could say like, okay, what axes do I have? This also could make it simpler to spot certain things and types. Like if you go off of axes, which is something I do sometimes, I go off of axes instead of trying to do individual. So yeah, like pretty much it's like there's certain it's like different families basically. So people with the same axes, like say you're talking about an INFJ or something, they got the TI and the FE in the axes. So those, for them, it's right next to each other. So it's kind of opposite to me. I have my perceiving functions right next to each other, which defines me as a perceiver, because I have two perceiving functions right there. And that defines INFJs as judgers, because they got two judging functions right there. So yeah, when they're using their FE, they're not going to be using their introverted thinking so much. It's kind of going to be repressed while they're using their FE. And they could be using their NI and their FE. So when they're dealing with people, they're using the NI and FE to read people. You know what I'm saying? They're not so much using TI. Like maybe when they get home and they sit down and think and relax, they'll start to use their TI. But when they're in the environment interacting with people, they're not using so much introverted thinking. If they are, then it's probably gonna mess them up in their judgments a little bit because their TI is not as developed. So that's how that works. Yeah, basically everything is a seesaw thing. Like when you, we all have axes, you know what I'm saying? Nobody has two extroverted judgment functions. Nobody has two, go vice versa. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna have one of each. You're gonna have one introverted judgment function, one extroverted perceiving, one introverted perceiving function. It's on axes. That's how they're all broken down into, and they're all, you know, it's a simplified, but axes are cool, man. It's interesting. That's one thing I like about it because it makes sense a little bit. You know what I mean? So, thanks for watching.